Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we will study together the second part of Tao Te Ching chapter 3. Last week we talked about the first part, which is worship no sage and people will not struggle for vanity. Treasure no rare goods and people will not steal them. Dangle no tantalizer, and people will not be confused in mind and will. Hi, Karen. Hello. Nice to have you. We're gonna study the next section in Tao Te Ching chapter 3 today, which is the master leads by emptying people's mind and filling their course, by weakening their ambition and toughening their resolve. So since we've been, I think people are not, will be familiar with the term emptying our minds. And we'll talk about, I think it's similar here is to say, you often hear open your mind and empty your mind. I just want to, when I read this part, I thought about a Chinese Chan Buddhism story that I would like to share with you today. Chan Buddhism, Chan, we spell it as C-H-A-N. It's the same word as Zen, Z-E-N. A lot of people are probably familiar with Zen. Zen is the Japanese way to say Chan. Zen Buddhism started in China. You can call it like the Chinese flavor of Buddhism. And Chan Buddhism, why is called separated, called it a Chan Buddhism, because when Buddhism get to China, and it merged with some of the Taoist philosophy. That's how, if you have read some of the Chan Buddhism stories and books, and you find a lot of familiar teachings and sayings that it's like, oh yeah, this seems like the same thing as Lao Tzu's been saying in Tao Te Ching. And later, many years later, and the Chan Buddhism was then expanded to Japan, and then Japan also developed their own system of the Chan Buddhism. And because the Zen, let's say the Japanese version of the Zen Buddhism was introduced to the US before Chan Buddhism, so a lot of people know about Zen. So it's the same word. Okay, back to this story. This is a famous Chan Buddhism story. It goes that apparently long time ago in China, there is this scholar. It's a very educated person, gentleman. And he's been studying Chan Buddhism, let's say just Chan. He's been studying Chan for many years. So he thinks that he knows a lot about Chan. However, he doesn't feel like he's enlightened enough yet, or has not get to the, he wants to improve. So, hi Richard, thank you for joining. So one day he heard that there's this Chan master who is a Buddhism monk. So this monk was going to have a speech, a discourse to the public in his temple. So he wanted to. He heard that this monk is a master and supposed to be very enlightened, and he wants to go see if he wants to go hear what this master has to say. So after the monk's talk, and he came and he met with the monk, and he's the idea is he wants to be able to learn from the monk, and he wants to talk and communicate. However, he's started to tell the monk, saying like, oh, I don't think what you said, this makes sense, or it's different from what I've learned somewhere else. And so the monk just sit there, listen to him, and then hand him a cup of tea that's pretty fulfilled, and then gave him the teapot, saying like, please pour water into this teacup. And he was very surprised, and he was saying, but it's already full. How can I pour any more water in it? So the monk says, you already, let me see how to say. He says, the idea is that you already have all of these preconceived ideas about what the Buddhism Chan should be. How can you take in any of my teachings? So since you're already so full, none of them is being able to go in. So there's this called empty cup theory. So whatever you going to learn something, even if something that you already have some idea or know a lot about, but if you wanted to, let's say, go to a new teacher to learn, first, to be able to best learn from someone, you have to dump all of your tea out of your cup. So make yourself into an empty cup. And that's how you'll be really receiving anything, that getting the benefit and learn from someone. So that's a story I've thought about when I read this part that I wanted to share with you. Okay, by emptying people's minds and feeling their cores. In Chinese, Tao Te Ching, the Chinese writing is this part is called 食其腹. Fu means belly. 食 means filled, not empty. So it's contrast. So you need to empty your mind, your heart, and fill your belly. And some people will interpret this as that the master should make sure people are not hungry. And what I really like Stephen Mitchell's translation here, it says feeling their cores. I mean, think about it. What's our core? As a person, what is our core? What is the center of us? What's our essence? And this, since the people in this group are all interested in traditional Chinese medicine, you may have heard that the word Jing Qi. Jing Qi. Qi is like Qi. Qi or Chi. It's the same Qi. And Jing Qi in traditional Chinese medicine or Taoist practice is considered the essence of our body. How do you understand? Let's say, how would I explain Jing Qi? It's like we've all heard about. We have this physical body, and we have our energy body that's invisible, but it's energy, and it's maybe a little more expanded than our physical body. However, for me, I think that I mean, everything is made of energy, like our body, physical body. Even though when we often talk about energy, we're thinking about the invisible part, that the energy. However, it's all energy. It's just probably like a different form of energy. Some are little more fluid flow, and little more less materialized. And our physical body is probably the most materialized, that energy form of our body. And we maybe have many different layers of our body, and that's all connected. That's all part of our body. Probably the like the word air, Chi is also in Chinese we call 空气. 空气 is the air that's surrounding us. Why we call the Chi? People know Chi. Also, people describe it that's the energy. That's the energy that flows through our body, because it has the same characteristic of I think as air. In like ancient times, Chinese people realize, okay, this energy is kind of like air. It flows very freely, and it's invisible. So it often you'll find that in China, names sometimes the Chinese will name two things of similar name, even though they might look very different. However, they're seeing is the essence, is their essential characteristic that's the same. So that they group them together, they think these things are connected, and they have a name that's the two names are related, even though probably physically they don't seem as all the same or related at all. Later on, we'll talk probably more about that, and we'll run into more. And so air, Qi is that the energy that's kind of a little more towards the invisible expand part. And Jing Qi, the Jing, one explanation in traditional Chinese medicine is a little more materialized than Qi is. However, it's very fine compared to our visible physical body. It's a much finer, if you use the word matter. For me, like what I said, my understanding of that is just that they are all different forms of our energy. And it's remember in chapter 1 of Tao Te Ching, we talk about the thingness, the matter, and the emptiness. They are they produce each other. They are the same thing, just with different name. So this is actually a good example of it. So our material body and our energy body, it's all part of our body. It's just the different name for that, the same thing. And our energy often comes from the Jing and the Qi that's in our body are considered the essence of our body. That's what gives our body energy. That's what keeps our body, our organs, our brain from working properly. And also in not traditional Chinese medicine, probably that too. Also in Taoism practice, we believe that all of the practice, including meditation, all of the different exercise we do, what we do is to try to purify this Jing Qi, this essence. The more pure it is, that you will be able to, it's like when something is more clear, more pure, and it's like our body has this clean engine oil. That would probably be a good synergy. it's like rather than having a dirty oil that doesn't work very well for a car, the more you can purify your Jing Qi, and then our body will work better. Not just our body, actually our mind. And you'll be able to, when whatever things comes to you, whatever challenge, you'll be able to clearly understand it and knows what it's about and knows really what's the best way to deal with something, or to getting the benefit out of something. Isn't that all we want? Like everyone would certainly want that, right? So that's a little talk about Jing Qi. So that's what I said. I like the Stephen Mitchell's translation is our core, and make sure all of these, our meditation, our Qigong, our Tai Chi, these are all trying to serve the same purpose, is to able to making our core, our Jing Qi, to becoming a more pure, stronger, and we have a healthier body, and we have a clearer mind. Okay, let's continue. We have a few minutes left. Okay, by weakening their ambition and toughening their resolve. When I read this part, I went to Google and I Googled the definition of ambition. Ambition, the definition is a strong desire for success, achievement, power, or wealth. Let's do a test. So let's close our eyes and then think about, when you think about someone who is successful, achieved, powerful, and wealthy, and think about who comes to mind. Yeah, just whatever comes to mind, don't have to overthink about it. I don't know who you thought about. I mean, maybe Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg, or maybe Elon Musk. About the CEOs of the world's top 500 companies, maybe movie stars, or maybe the top athletes, and think about it. It's what I found when I did this exercise. I was even though a deep part of me, I'm aware of that, like the success, achievement, power, and wealth are more than what like also society view of what a person that is wealthy or successful is. However, like when I close my mind, when I think about it, these are the examples of I could come up, and I realized that how much that I'm actually influenced by these society view, even though when I pause for a second, when I really think about it, I say, when I really clear that out, and it's like, what for me, for you, for each individual, what would you consider being like success, that have success, have achievement, and wealth? What does that mean to you? Is it really these things? They might be. Maybe you'll be your goal is become kind of like Elon Musk, and there's certainly nothing wrong with that. But however, like, was that everybody? Like, is that for what the standard is? It really for everybody? Is that something that everyone should be using as a standard to judge themselves or others, as whether it's a successful or someone is achieved and someone's done well by in their life? in Chinese have a saying that is called 物尽其用，人尽其才. This saying, it means 物尽其用. It means when you have something, a material thing, you use it for what's best for, and you use it for all that it's good for. So that is what how you should be using something. Let's say a tool. Like we all know that we shouldn't be using a hammer to sew clothes, right? Or we also shouldn't use a needle and to drive in a nail. I mean, that certainly was almost silly to say. However, that's saying that, I mean, we know when it comes to us as human, to everyone's life, the part 人尽其才 is for everybody to find what they're good for, what they're interested in doing, and then make sure that everyone has the opportunity to become what they come to this earth to be, what they're best at doing, they're happiest at doing. And that's like we have hammer, we have nail, we're not using them for the same function, right? And like the same thing for humans. Not just humans. For example, this I don't know if anybody knows what's the national flower is for China. It's a peony. Peony is the national flower for China. And since since ancient time to now, there have been many poets who wrote poems and praise the beauty of peony, and they use all kinds of good adjectives on peony. And it seems like it's high class, and it's just gracious, it's grandiose, and all kinds of good words. However, imagine that you have a garden that all your flowers are trying to become what like a peony is like, and for all gardeners, you probably think that's like a disaster. And for us, it's easier to see like what we want. We want the flowers to be the best of themselves. We want the tulip. We want a tulip to be the best of a tulip can be. And we want the forsythia to have this beautiful yellow and have this happy bloom and this fill the tree. And we want it to be sorry, I just got a 20% battery signal. For it to be, right? And then that's like if you're in a garden that every flower is just doing the best and be happy at who they are and what they're supposed to be. And that, for me, will be a perfect garden. And certainly it's the same for us. Everyone be whatever you most enjoy. And if you, for example, last time I went back to China, I went to this public bathroom, and I ran into this lady whose job is just cleaning the bathroom. And in China, I'm sure here, being a janitor is probably, nobody think that that's like a successful and wealthy job. However, what struck me, why I still remember her, is that she just have this such of a positive energy. She's just, you can just feel that her heart is open. She was very welcoming for people who come in. She was cleaning. She reminded me that, oh, be careful. This is wet, and just make sure you don't slip. And she's just you can tell that she's happy, even though she's doing this job that most people probably wouldn't think. If you do, like, you have to do something like this, and that will be happy. and she's just she's happy, and then it's just it brings such kind of happy energy and into, I think, probably everybody, if you run into her, anybody who interact with her would be she's sending out this happy positive energy to everyone. And it was, I remember this was also very contrasting because after the bathroom trip, I went to the ticketing office to buy a ticket. And so there's this young guy who's the other lady. She's probably in her 50s, and then when I went back to the ticket officer, I saw this guy, this young guy, who's just his job is just sitting there and selling tickets. Certainly it's probably not a you probably won't consider it as a very high level job, but compared to the other lady, you would think he probably get it better because, you know, he doesn't have to deal with the bathroom, and he sits here and people come here. It's kind of it probably is not a very hard job. However, he is the gloomiest person I've ever met. He's just, you could tell that every cell in his body is like, I don't want to do this. It's such a contrast, right? It just make me, it's just the, I mean, you think about it, it's like, you know, it's not actually what you do. It's like what you be, whether you'll be able to enjoy. Are you doing something that's fun enjoyment, enjoying what you do? Be like, what, so it's like, let's say that, I don't know what that lady is thinking. I can probably, I would say she is probably happy with whatever her overall life situation is, that she's happy, even though the other guy's having a better position, but he's for some reason is not very happy with what he is doing. So it's not just what job, and you may be a CEO making millions of dollars in a company, but if that's not what you want to do or meant to do, then you can still be considered like successful or wealthy, right? Okay, so sorry that I ran over past our time again. Thank you for joining me, and let's continue Tao Te Ching Chapter 3 next week. Have a wonderful week, everyone.